That's only natural. This Nine Dragons Flame Cauldron of mine is a heavenly cauldron renowned across various domains. 10,000 years ago, when my divine-level alchemy skills were paired with this medicinal cauldron, I was truly unmatched under the heavens. Hearing Yi Tianqian's self-satisfied words, Xiao Yan's curiosity toward this Nine Dragons Flame Cauldron grew even stronger. Although there was some boasting in Yi Tianqian's tone, one could still glean a larger truth from a glimpse, enough to see how significant the former once was in the great world. And this Nine Dragons Flame Cauldron was clearly a crucial part of that legacy. A heavenly cauldron? Xiao Yan, snapping back to his senses, caught this sensitive term and couldn't help but ask. That's right, a heavenly cauldron. Yi Tianqian gently stroked the dark red medicinal cauldron, as if caressing a peerless treasure. When refining medicinal pills above the 6th tier, ordinary cauldrons cannot withstand the violent energy involved. Only special cauldrons can endure it. Such cauldrons are called heavenly cauldrons. The higher the grade, the more prestigious the name. It is said that heavenly cauldrons are divided into 9 tiers. The most mysterious 9 heavens cauldron is rumored to increase the success rate of refining 9th grade sacred pills by as much as 30%. My Nine Dragons Flame Cauldron, though only a 5 heavens cauldron, still makes refining ordinary 8th grade pills as easy as turning my hand. Sacred pills, a 30% increase in success rate. Shocked deeply by this information, Xiao Yan couldn't help but grit his teeth. He did not know how difficult it was to refine sacred pills, but he had experience refining 9th grade treasure pills and even 9th grade profound pills in the lower realm. Each attempt required immense effort. Even after advancing to the Do-D level, Xiao Yan could not guarantee a 100% success rate for 9th grade profound pills. After all, 9th grade pills had already undergone a qualitative transformation. Even a 1% increase in success rate was extremely difficult. For an alchemist, even 1,000th of an increase could change the outcome of a refinement, let alone the rumored 30% boost from the 9 heavens cauldron. If an alchemist with a Saint Realm soul were to control a 9 heavens cauldron to refine pills, the thought alone made Xiao Yan's heart tremble violently before his blood began to boil. Such a scene would likely shake the various domains. However, since the end of the poster cake era over 700,000 years ago, let alone 9 heavens cauldrons, even 8 heavens cauldrons have not been heard of. In today's great world, there seem to be no more than 3 7 heavens cauldrons. By the end, Yi Tianqian's voice grew softer and softer until it was nearly inaudible. Although Xiao Yan could only catch fragments, it did not stop him from continuing to imagine that insane idea that had suddenly emerged. Only when Yi Tianqian gave a light cough did Xiao Yan snap back to reality. Looking at the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron that stood over a man's height, he said somewhat incredulously, "Elder E, there's no need to use the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron just to refine a normal Emperor pill, right?" Upon hearing this, Yi Tianqian's old face twitched. He glanced at Xiao Yan and snorted. "Do you think I want to? Using a 5 heavens cauldron to refine an Emperor pill is simply an insult to it." After a pause, his tone shifted as he said helplessly with a bitter smile, "But there's no choice. The other slightly better cauldrons I once had have long lost their spirituality over the years. Only this 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron remains intact. Moreover, low-grade Emperor pills must be refined within a cauldron so that you can observe more clearly." A warm current of gratitude rose in Xiao Yan's heart. He did not know what to say, so he could only chuckle awkwardly before eagerly stepping forward. "Elder E, let's begin." Yi Tianqian nodded. With a wave of his sleeve, a surge of primordial Emperor Qi suddenly solidified. A faint strand of blue flame emerged from his finger and shot into the condensed primordial Emperor Qi. In an instant, the Emperor Qi erupted like dry wood meeting blazing fire. The blue flame surged upward, carrying a faint trace of water vapor, and roared like a wave as it swept toward the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron. The moment the blue flame touched the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron, The eyes of the 9 carved stone fire dragons on the cauldron's surface suddenly lit up. The blue flame vanished instantly. Under Xiao Yan's shocked gaze, the 9 fire dragons seemed to come alive, slowly coiling around the cauldron. In just a few breaths, the cauldron's surface was fully covered in blue light. The 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron then began to tremble slightly, indicating that medicinal materials could now be added. Recovering his senses, Xiao Yan couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Truly extraordinary, everything about it. Even the activation method was so distinctive. While lost in thought, 50 sets of materials for refining the Clarity Restoration Pill had already appeared before Xianxia. Glancing at the 20 extra sets of materials, Xianxia said nothing more. With a slight hook of his finger, one set of medicinal materials flew automatically before him. Fais attention. During the process, I will deliberately slow down my techniques. If there is anything you don't understand, feel free to ask at any time. As this faint voice echoed in Xiao Yan's mind, among the 4 medicinal ingredients, the white pearl lotus had already been sent by Xianxia into the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron. Xiao Yan immediately cast aside all distracting thoughts and focused intently on every movement of Xianxia. Drawing upon his years of experience in pill refinement, he quickly analyzed and memorized each step. The moment the white pearl lotus entered the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron, an originally empty furnace suddenly manifested a blue fire dragon out of nowhere. Seeing this familiar fire dragon, Xiao Yan first froze in surprise, then quickly looked outside the cauldron. Of the 9 fire dragons that had originally coiled around the cauldron, only 8 remained. Elder E, this is... Before Xiao Yan could ask further, Xianxia interrupted him. This is a unique property of the Heavenly Cauldron. When refining pills above the 6th rank, the required medicinal materials may number in the hundreds or even thousands. If flames were generated inside the cauldron, they would take up too much space. Thus, one only needs to channel flame into the fire input ports on the cauldron walls. With the Heavenly Cauldron's spirituality, it will inject flames at the most appropriate moment. No manual control is needed. Of course, this assumes you have enough primordial emperor chi in your body to sustain the consumption of the fire input ports. As he spoke, that blue fire dragon had already, like a bolt of blue lightning, instantly wrapped around the white pearl lotus. As its body writhed, the lotus was refined into a stream of pure medicinal liquid flowing downward. The fire dragon trembled slightly again, and a cluster of flames appeared out of thin air, enveloping the entire medicinal liquid before being swallowed by the fire dragon. The dragon let out a soft cry, its body twisting, and when it reappeared, it was already outside the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron. As part of the cauldron spirit, the fire input ports can also serve as jade bottles for storing medicinal liquid. Medicinal liquid stored through them will suffer almost no loss in medicinal potency. While explaining, Xianxia casually tossed the 3-leaf profound flower into the cauldron. Just like the white pearl lotus, another fire dragon entered, wrapping the refined medicinal liquid within its body. Soon, the refinement of the 4 medicinal ingredients was completed. Xianxia smiled lightly and said, "Only 4 ingredients. I can't feel the slightest bit of challenge." Back then, when I competed with a few old fellows to refine an 8th rank peak pill, the scene was truly magnificent beyond words. Recalling that moment, Xianxia could not help but feel a wave of nostalgia. Thousands of different medicinal materials were simultaneously refined. Inside the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron, blue and brown fire dragons intertwined endlessly, one after another, dazzling beyond comprehension. The other competitors' heavenly cauldrons were also filled with mixed-colored flames, illuminating the sky in a brilliant rainbow glow. Shaking his head slightly, Xianxia looked at the focused Xiao Yan and said, "Extracting the medicinal liquid from the ingredients. This step should be the same as in the lower realm." Seeing Xiao Yan nod, he paused slightly before continuing. "The next step is the fusion of medicinal liquids, forming the embryonic shape of the Emperor Pill. This step, if studied carefully, still differs somewhat from the lower realm. As he spoke, Xianxia flicked his finger. Inside the cauldron, for clusters of blue flames emerged, each containing dense medicinal liquid emitting a faint herbal fragrance. Xiao Yan inhaled slightly, and a glint of light flashed in his eyes. Just as Elder Yi had said, not a trace of medicinal potency had been lost. The four flame clusters slowly converged under Xianxia's control. During this process, he placed one hand upon the body of a fire dragon. The surrounding primordial emperor, Qi, suddenly paused, then surged wildly into the dragon. Instantly, the dragon's body blazed with brilliant firelight, absorbing every trace of the incoming energy. At almost the same moment that the external primordial emperor Qi poured into the fire dragon, vast amounts of primordial emperor Qi also emerged within the cauldron, surging into the gradually merging flames. As the primordial emperor Qi entered, the medicinal fragrance seemed to intensify further. The fusion of medicinal liquids requires a large amount of primordial emperor Qi as catalyst. Therefore, every alchemist must always maintain sufficient primordial emperor Qi within their body. This is also why all alchemists are cultivation geniuses. Without enough primordial emperor Qi, even a most gifted alchemist is like a skilled cook without rice. While speaking, the four refined medicinal essences finally merged completely. As the flames dissipated, a relatively rounded embryonic emperor pill appeared before Xiao Yan's eyes. "So this is the embryonic form of an emperor pill," he murmured. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Yan felt a surge of emotion. The emperor pill embryo that once drove Emperor of the Soul into madness was actually refined like this. The emperor pill embryo, yes, that's what it is. Next comes the most crucial step. Xianxia smiled faintly and continued. Primordial emperor Qi, massive amounts of primordial emperor Qi. The art of pill refining in the great world is not as complicated as in the lower realm. As long as an alchemist has enough patience and meticulousness and undergoes countless practice sessions, most ordinary alchemists can reach around the second rank. If one has enough primordial emperor Qi to expend freely, even a fourth-rank alchemist is not impossible. For pills below the fourth rank, refinement is relatively simple. One only needs medicinal materials, a prescription, and soul power. Once the emperor pill embryo is successfully fused, the pill is basically half complete. After that comes the infusion of large amounts of primordial emperor Qi. For the same pill, one infused with a full 10/10ths of primordial emperor Qi will naturally be of higher quality than one infused with only 5/10ths. Even a small clarity restoration pill, if refined to its highest quality, can rival some second-rank pills. After hearing Xianxia's words of experience, Xiao Yan hurriedly memorized them deeply in his heart. These were all invisible treasures. At critical moments, they could help him avoid many detours. As his voice fell, Xianxia waved his sleeve. Within the dense primordial emperor Qi, a rustling sound rang out. Soon, under the nourishment of massive amounts of primordial emperor Qi, the surface of this emperor pill embryo gradually became lustrous. A faint glow began to emerge, and its color shifted from pure white to a pale red. The medicinal properties hidden deep within the liquid were now fully activated. After about 4 or 5 minutes, Xianxia finally stopped the infusion. With a gesture of his hand, the pale red pill in the cauldron flew into his palm. Glancing at the clarity restoration pill in his hand that emitted a warm aura, Xianxia tossed it directly to Xiao Yan and said, "This pill has already absorbed primordial emperor Qi to its limit. After you take it later, try sensing it. According to my estimation, although it won't allow the primordial emperor Qi within your body to recover rapidly, it should restore most of it in a short period." Looking at the pale red pill the size of a longan in his hand, Xiao Yan's expression also carried a trace of excitement. Although the Qi gathering pill he had obtained before was of a higher grade than this clarity restoration pill, as a Dou emperor who had ascended from the continent of Dou Qi, the name emperor pill alone was enough to draw Xiao Yan's full attention. Now, a pill that belonged only to legends in the continent of Do Qi was lying vividly in his palm. At this moment, Xiao Yan finally understood why Tuasha, ancient emperor, only left behind an emperor pill embryo. The continent of Do Qi simply did not possess enough primordial emperor Qi to complete the final step of refining an emperor pill. A nascent pill was already the limit of the lower world. If you understand everything, then use this Nine Dragons Flame Cauldron to try refining it. Using the Five Heavens Cauldron as your first alchemy furnace. Kid, your fortune really isn't ordinary. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan's emotions also surged slightly. He then took a deep breath. With a surge of suction in his palm, a three-leaf profound flower appeared in his hand. With a virtual grip of his hand, a mass of crimson flame rose into the air. It spun briefly before shooting straight toward the 9 stone-carved fire dragons. The flame poured into the dragons' bodies and vanished instantly. Soon after, a layer of crimson color surged over the bodies of the 9 fire dragons, as though they had come to life. They began circling the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron at high speed. As they moved, the cauldron walls were also quietly covered in a layer of crimson. Seeing that the preliminary preparations had been smoothly completed, Xiao Yan steadied his mind. He loosened his grip, and the three-leaf profound flower was thrown into the cauldron. Before it even reached the bottom, a crimson fire dragon appeared out of thin air. With a roar, a strand of dark medicinal liquid was separated out, wrapped in flames, and drawn into the dragon's body. Repeating the process, he separated the remaining 3 medicinal ingredients. Xiao Yan's expression remained composed. Years of alchemy had given him a consistently calm state of mind. At that moment, his soul power surged out from between his brows, enveloping the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron so that even the slightest change inside the furnace could be sensed immediately. His soul power tightly wrapped the 4 floating clusters of flame without the slightest gap. Under Xiao Yan's control, his soul power infiltrated the medicinal liquids within the flames, guiding the 4 clusters to slowly merge together. With soul power comparable to the peak of the late true Emperor realm, the 4 medicinal liquids gradually began to show signs of fusion. Just as the 4 clusters of medicinal liquid were about to merge, the flames suddenly trembled. Xiao Yan's heart sank. Sure enough, the medicinal liquid undergoing fusion inside the flames suddenly exploded, turning into a mass of black residue that was instantly incinerated to nothingness by a suddenly appearing fire dragon. Although his first alchemy attempt failed, Xiao Yan's expression did not change in the slightest. He tapped his finger lightly against his brow, fell in a thought for a moment, then waved his hand again, drawing another set of medicinal ingredients before him. Having gained experience from the first attempt, Xiao Yan gained much finer control over his soul power during refinement. As the medicinal properties fluctuated during fusion, his soul power also expanded and contracted accordingly, while the flame's intensity alternated between gentle and violent. With the momentum boost from the Prestige Force Art, his control over the flames reached another level. The flames gradually extinguished, revealing a nascent pill with an uneven surface. Looking at the pill, Xiao Yan let out a light breath. Now came the most crucial step. He extended his palm straight forward, pressing it against the fire input port. Under his will, the primordial Emperor Qi within his body surged along his arm's meridians and poured entirely into the body of the fire dragon. Inside Xiao Yan's body, 9 origin Emperor chains resonated with a deep hum. Streams of extremely pure primordial Emperor Qi shot out from within them, continuously surging through specific meridians. As the primordial Emperor Qi was consumed, large amounts of modeled primordial Emperor Qi also poured back into Xiao Yan's body, entering the origin Emperor crystal through the meridians of the flame mantra, replenishing the depleted primordial Emperor Qi. Inside the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron, a large amount of pure origin Emperor Qi continuously poured in, catalyzing the Emperor pill. With the supplementation of origin Emperor Qi, The surface of the pill gradually became smooth, reflecting faint crystalline glimmers, while a subtle medicinal fragrance also wafted out. Upon smelling this fragrance, Xiao Yan's spirit was instantly invigorated. At that moment, he increased the infusion of Origin Emperor Qi even further. The humming of the 9 origin chains could even be heard outside his body. However, in just a little over a minute, Xiao Yan felt a wave of weakness spreading through his body. Noticing this, he couldn't help but furrow his brows. With the enhanced flame mantra absorbing Origin Emperor Qi and the strength of refinement, he could only sustain it for such a short time. With the cessation of Origin Emperor Qi infusion, the medicinal film on the surface of the pill gradually dissipated. A clean, dragon eye-sized pill emitting faint wisps of heat appeared before Xiao Yan. Emperor Pill. Holding the pill in his hand, Xiao Yan looked at it with excitement. This legendary pill from the continent of Doqi. He was now capable of refining it with his own strength. I do have some alchemy experience, but I'm still not proficient enough in the infusion of Origin Emperor Qi, and my control over the true Emperor Realm Soul is not precise enough. With your cultivation technique level and the abundance of Origin Emperor Qi within your body, you should definitely be able to push it beyond 2 minutes. Just as Xiao Yan was somewhat sighing in reflection, Yi Tianxin's voice suddenly rang out, pointing out some of his mistakes during the pill refinement. For pills below the 4th rank, this is basically how they are refined. At this stage, to put it nicely, it's training experience. In truth, it's just burning medicinal materials. Remember this. The great world will never lack alchemists below the 4th rank. Such alchemists can only act domineeringly in small cities. In the various domains, only alchemists of 4th rank and above are truly respected. Hearing this, Xiao Yan was slightly moved. Although Elder Yi's words might be a bit extreme, they clearly demonstrated how precious high-level alchemists were. As one's strength increases, the true Emperor Realm Soul would also gradually grow. Since those who could become alchemists were all cultivation geniuses, most could reach the peak of the true Emperor Realm Soul. With such a level of soul power, refining 3rd-rank pills, though not easy, still had a success rate of 60 to 70%. But to refine 4th-rank pills, one must possess an anomalous realm soul. At that point, far fewer alchemists would be able to do so. Not everyone's soul could break through its shackles and transform into an anomalous realm soul. Without special experiences, the true Emperor Realm Soul was almost the limit for the vast majority of alchemists, and that was precisely why 4th rank and above alchemists were so valuable. Right now, your soul is at the peak of the mid-stage. You're only half a step away from the late-stage soul. Cultivate diligently and strive to reach the late stage before leaving the illusory realm. That way, you'll be able to refine 2nd-rank pills. With a faint smile, Yi Tianxin waved his sleeve, and the 9 Dragons Flame Cauldron moved to Xiao Yan's side. These days, focus on building experience. 1 month from today, I want to see 30 clarity restoration pills better than the one you just refined. Xiao Yan froze, his eyes gradually losing focus. He murmured, "Leave," suddenly. He jolted and quickly said, "Elder Yi, I have something to ask." A ripple of spatial distortion appeared in the distance, and Yi Tianxin's voice came through. "What is it?" Xiao Yan took a light breath, flicked his storage ring, and a pure yet faint soul imprint appeared in his hand. Looking at the soul imprint, which had gained a trace of vitality under the nourishment of Origin Emperor Qi, Xiao Yan raised his head toward the distorted space and said, "Elder, do you know how to resurrect someone in the lower world who is left only with a soul imprint?" A thoughtful voice echoed through the space. After a pause, Yi Tianxin's figure suddenly appeared in front of Xiao Yan. He glanced at the soul imprint in Xiao Yan's hand and said in surprise, "Why is this soul imprint so weak?" Xiao Yan's expression turned bitter as he recounted Xiao Xin's story, not omitting even his final words. "What a fated, unlucky fellow," Yi Tianxin muttered after hearing him. Seeing the hopeful look in Xiao Yan's eyes, he sighed helplessly and tapped his brow in thought. After quite a while, under Xiao Yan's expectant gaze, Xianxia finally nodded slowly. There is a way. Seeing Xianxia's hesitant expression, Xiao Yan grew anxious, about to speak, when Xianxia said solemnly, "From this soul imprint, your ancestor should have touched the threshold of a Dodi. His soul was already nourished by a trace of origin Emperor Qi. Although he has fallen, that trace of origin Emperor Qi within the imprint remains. There is indeed a high chance of revival, but..." Seeing Xiao Yan's suddenly brightened eyes, Xianxia sighed again. "But the requirements are extremely harsh." Xiao Yan quietly exhaled upon hearing this. Then, catching the latter half of the sentence, he asked, "What are they?" "First, you must reach at least the level of a 6th-rank alchemist. Second, your soul must reach the illusory realm. And lastly, you must possess an emperor flame that can nourish the soul." Hearing the first two requirements, Xiao Yan's expression did not change much. Although he did not currently possess either of them, he was confident that he would eventually reach that level in the future. However, upon hearing the final requirement, he still could not help but freeze slightly. A soul-nourishing effect. Is it that kind of emperor flame? Xiao Yan asked with a wry smile. This condition seemed to be somewhat harsh. Ranked 21st on the emperor flame ranking, the soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame. Speaking of this emperor flame, even Xianxia, who possessed the powerful 1,000-leaf ancestral emperor flame, showed an expression of excitement. The soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame is one of the most unique flames on the emperor flame ranking. Although its ranking is not very high, it is almost the dream flame of all alchemists. It is said that its wielder does not gain even the slightest increase in combat strength, but their soul power can instantly surge dramatically. It can also nourish the soul continuously, strengthening it over time. This emperor flame is almost as if it was born specifically for alchemists. Hearing Xianxia's extremely high evaluation of the soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame, Xiao Yan was also momentarily stunned. This was the first time he had ever heard of a flame capable of enhancing soul power. The soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame. I once saw it when I had just stepped into the supreme saint realm, Xianxia continued. At that time, I was serving as a judge for the pill competition of the Central Heaven Empire in the Central region. The competition was personally presided over by a supreme saint-level first elder from the pill realm. It was then that I witnessed the power of the soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame. Once it appeared, tens of thousands of genius alchemists on the entire field changed expression drastically. Nearly 10,000 of them even knelt down under the pressure of its soul might. That scene is still vividly etched in my memory. Unfortunately, before my physical body was destroyed, that first elder went mad during cultivation and self-destructed. As for the soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame, no one knows where it ended up. Good heavens! Xiao Yan was equally shocked. A pill competition worthy of having a supreme saint as a judge must have been of an extremely high level. Tens of thousands of participants all changing expression, with nearly 10,000 kneeling. Although part of it may have been due to the first elder's overwhelming strength, it still fully demonstrated the terrifying nature of the soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame. Of course, what truly attracts alchemists about the soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame is not just this. Its legend is the most captivating part, Xianxia said with a hint of longing in his expression. It is said that the soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame has a faint connection with the 5th-ranked emperor flame on the emperor flame ranking, the transcendent soul flame. Whether the transcendent soul flame is a flame that allows one to reach the supreme saint realm, or one that elevates the soul into the sacred realm, is still unknown. Hearing this, Xiao Yan was once again deeply shaken. His mouth even felt a little dry. A flame like the transcendent soul flame, whatever its exact function, just its ranking alone was enough to make one dizzy. The soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame, its background was actually this powerful. Enough talk. In short, if you want to revive your ancestor, even if you cannot obtain the soul-nourishing spirit emperor flame, other soul-nourishing rare treasures will also do. Xiao Yan gave a bitter smile. His eyes flickered as he suddenly said softly, "Elder E, if this illusion were to be destroyed, would you be able to leave behind a soul imprint?" Yi Tianxin's heart stirred slightly, and he slowly nodded. Seeing this, Xiao Yan grinned. His somewhat refined face carried a sincere smile as he said, "Then, at that time, I will do everything in my power to help you revive." Within those calm words lay an undeniable and resolute determination. The hand hidden within Yi Tianxin's sleeve trembled almost imperceptibly. He gave a light chuckle. "You brat, you really are thoughtful. However, to revive my soul imprint, you would at least need to reach an 8th rank alchemist. Your soul power would need to reach at least the ancient realm level, not to mention the thousands of rare medicinal materials required." Xiao Yan's expression did not change in the slightest. He still wore a faint smile. After a brief moment of contemplation, he took a deep breath and said in an equally firm tone, "I will give it my all." Although he did not say something like, "I will definitely become an 8th rank alchemist," or if not enough, then 9th rank, his words were somehow even more convincing to Yi Tianxin. The latter looked at him with a faint smile, then after a pause, tossed 2 scrolls to Xiao Yan. "This old man doesn't have much time left. Little guy, are you interested in becoming my final disciple?" Yi Tianxin clapped his hands together and asked casually. Xiao Yan's heart trembled. A warm current quietly flowed through him. Elder Yi had truly acknowledged him. After calming his slightly stirred emotions, Xiao Yan took a deep breath. Under Yi Tianxin's profound gaze, he knelt heavily to the ground and respectfully performed a disciple's bow. His voice trembled slightly as he said, "Disciple Xiao Yan greets Master." In the continent of Douqi, Yao Lao was the teacher who influenced Xiao Yan's entire life, the one who brought him into that magnificent and ever-changing world. Through decades of relentless tempering in blood and fire, Yao Lao's selfless guidance allowed Xiao Yan to endure a journey that, though full of hardships, was ultimately free of fatal danger, enabling him to finally stand at the very peak of the continent of Douqi. It could be said that Yao Lao was the undisputed imperial master, the teacher of the Dou Di. Calling him Xiao Yan's enlightenment teacher would not be an exaggeration. After arriving in the great world, Xiao Yan felt as if he had returned to the lowest level of the continent of Douqi. His strength was weak, and he was filled with endless confusion and the unknown regarding this world. Everything had to be explored on his own. Since he accidentally entered the St. Fall Mountain under the guidance of that giant egg, his exploratory period finally came to an end. Perhaps at first Yi Tianxin taught Xiao Yan because the latter had saved that giant egg. But as time passed, some of Xiao Yan's mysterious aspects gradually revealed themselves, drawing the attention of even Yi Tianxin, a supreme saint-level expert. Moreover, Xiao Yan was a Dou Di who had ascended from the lower world, meaning everything had to start from scratch. At that time, in Yi Tianxin's eyes, Xiao Yan was merely a piece of fine jade, and with the mindset of a strong expert, he only intended to nurture him slightly. It was only when Xiao Yan condensed the prestige force art that it truly stirred Yi Tianxin's mind. Then came the later reincarnation of the Xiao Dragon, which recognized Xiao Yan as its master, causing Yi Tianxin to truly take this weak junior seriously. The subsequent soul, transformation, and alchemy also made Yi Tianxin develop a fondness for talent, pondering how to carve this flawless, uncut gem into something that could shine brilliantly. He even once considered taking Xiao Yan as a disciple, but he ultimately rejected the idea in his heart due to uncertainty about Xiao Yan's character. Until Xiao Yan's earlier words, although somewhat arrogant in tone, fell into Yi Tianxin's ears like a heavy hammer, finally strengthening his resolve to take him as a disciple. Yi Tianxin, who had wandered the great world for over 10,000 years, heard in Xiao Yan's seemingly quiet but unquestionable words the deepest voice of the young man's heart. Looking at the young man kneeling before him, a barely perceptible trace of excitement rose in Yi Tianxin's profound gaze. His fists hidden within his sleeves were clenched tightly, causing even the surrounding space to distort slightly. "Ah, To think that before my death I could take in a disciple like you, I have no regrets. Xianxia's laughter carried a tone of old emotions welling up. He immediately helped Xiao Yan up, his aged face full of smiles. I have no father in the great world. As the saying goes, a teacher for a day is a father for life. Your kindness toward me, Master, I will never forget. Saying this with a slightly choked voice, Xiao Yan looked at Xianxia's vastly more aged face compared to the past, and once again knelt down. The head that had never bowed before any powerful enemy struck heavily against the green stone ground, producing a dull thud. The help Xianxia had given him over these years was not fully known to Xiao Yan, but he remembered it deeply in his heart. Given everything Xianxia had done for him, this bow was worth it. That thudding sound seemed to strike Xianxia's heart as well, causing a slight ache to arise within him. A peculiar feeling quietly surged forth, and a thin mist gradually appeared in his weathered eyes. Now, why say all this? Now that you are my disciple, you must work even harder. In the future, at the very least, you cannot tarnish my name. I still have several old rivals from my lifetime. All of their disciples are monstrous talents. You must not be weaker than them. Xianxia laughed somewhat awkwardly a few times, quickly changing the subject after helping Xiao Yan up, and said sternly. With a loud and resounding response, Xiao Yan's heart was instantly filled with boundless ambition. One day, he would surely let Elder E witness with his own eyes how his disciple would once again elevate his name to greater glory. On a high mountain, Xiao Yan stood upright. In his hands, 2 clusters of flame were slowly burning. In his right hand was the Chaos Great Emperor Flame, and in his left was the 3000 Thunder Emperor Flame. Under Xiao Yan's greatly strengthened soul control, both imperial flames appeared exceptionally obedient. Before his soul transformation, Xiao Yan had already harbored a feng idea of merging the 2 imperial flames, but he had to give it up due to his soul being too weak. Now, with his soul at the peak of the mid-true Emperor realm, comparable to the late stage, Xiao Yan once again turned his attention to this idea. Calming his excited state slightly, a formless soul power emerged from between his brows, wrapping around the 2 imperial flames. Through the images fed back by his soul, Xiao Yan could clearly sense the movements of the 2 flames at this moment. Under the control of his soul, the intensity of both flames gradually stabilized to an even level. Then, under Xiao Yan's careful gaze, his 2 hands slowly moved together. When the 2 Emperor Flames just came into contact, an extremely sharp and violent energy surged out from within, like countless blades stabbing at Xiao Yan's body, causing him intense pain. Despite the violent force crashing against him, Xiao Yan's expression did not change. His gaze remained fixed on the 2 Emperor Flames, slowly drawing together as he pushed his soul power to its limit, fearing even the slightest mishap. Relying on experience unmatched in the lower world. Even while controlling this even more powerful Emperor Flame, Xiao Yan, under his careful manipulation, finally fused the 2 Emperor Flames perfectly together. A palm-sized golden-red fire lotus slowly took shape, gently rotating in his hand. At the moment the fire lotus formed, with it as the center, the surrounding space within dozens of inches twisted violently. As the lotus rotated, strands of deep spatial cracks quietly emerged. Xiao Yan's keen soul perception detected the violent fire attribute energy contained within the lotus. Even he could not help but let out an exclamation of admiration. The energy within was unexpectedly powerful, beyond his expectations. Before Xiao Yan could even feel joy, as the lotus slowly turned, he suddenly sensed the abundant origin Emperor Qi within his body draining away madly, as if a release valve had been opened. In just a few breaths, more than half of it was gone. Massive amounts of origin Emperor Qi poured into the small fire lotus before him. Flames quietly ignited upon its surface, and an even more terrifying pressure slowly emerged, causing strands of spatial fragments in its vicinity to silently vanish. Before Xiao Yan could react, The origin Emperor Qi within his body was already completely depleted. A boundless sense of weakness surged through him, and his body softened, nearly collapsing to the ground. Without the support of origin Emperor Qi, the rapidly rising destructive aura of the Fire Lotus also came to a halt. It rotated with a faint red glow, slowly releasing a trace of destructive intent. Sensing this trace of destructive aura, Xiao Yan's expression suddenly changed. Ignoring the weakness in his body, he hurriedly pointed toward a mountain ranged thousands of meters tall at the edge of his vision and shouted, "Go!" The Fire Lotus shot forward instantly, carving a crimson trail through space. Like a bolt of lightning, it vanished from Xiao Yan's sight in a single instant. The moment it disappeared, a faint black-gold glow emerged from his chest, followed by a black-gold character materializing out of thin air, shooting off like chasing wind and moon toward the direction where the lotus had vanished. The faint destructive aura released by the Fire Lotus had successfully drawn it out. Damn it! Xiao Yan cursed inwardly. He could only pray that the Fire Lotus would explode before the black gold character arrived. That kind of soul-deep pain was still fresh in his memory. The moment the black gold character shot out, a heaven-shaking explosion roared from the distance. Then a fiery red cloud surged into the sky, scattering the clouds above. The shockwave from the explosion rapidly flattened the surrounding low hills and forests, reducing countless towering trees to ashes. As the explosion subsided, a piercing pain that reached deep into the soul erupted from the depths of Xiao Yan's spirit. He jolted violently, and his exhausted body could no longer support itself. Collapsing to the ground as low, pained groans escaped his throat. Freeze! Just as the scorching energy storm was about to unleash its final surge of power, a faint voice rang out. Then the raging storm across the sky abruptly froze, as if time itself had been solidified. The next moment, a figure stepped out from within the storm. With a wave of his sleeve, all the phenomena produced by the explosion dissipated. Xianxia glanced at the nearly half-destroyed mountain peaks, unable to help but feel astonishment. The fusion of two Emperor Flames had such terrifying power. This little fellow was only at Emperor Soldier Peak level. If he reached the Imperial Path, or even Supreme Saint level in the future, this attack might be able to destroy half of the true forest domain. With shifting steps, Xianxia arrived instantly beside the suffering Xiao Yan. Seeing him rolling in pain on the ground, Xianxia could only sigh helplessly, though given what he had endured, it was not unjustified. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Xiao Yan gradually became proficient in refining pills. With the momentum boost of the Might Force art, Xiao Yan's late true Emperor Realm Soul allowed him to refine pills that only peak late-stage experts could normally handle, with a success rate of 50 to 60%. Once his soul truly advanced further into the late stage, the success rate would likely rise another level. After successfully refining the 30 batches of pills assigned by Elder E, Xiao Yan finally enjoyed a rare period of leisure. Through these days of tempering, his control over soul power had reached a proficient level, and his origin Emperor Qi could not significantly increase in the short term. As a result, Xiao Yan finally found himself with a rare moment of respite. Sitting cross-legged on a green stone slab, Xiao Yan held a cyan scroll between his fingers. After pondering for a moment, he immersed his soul power into it. At present, the Emperor techniques in his possession were simply too few. The two Emperor techniques that Elder E had given him, although not of high grade, were not low either. The intermediate Emperor technique was just suitable for him now. As his soul entered the scroll, strands of small wind currents drifted within it. After a short while, these wind currents converged and formed a passage of text. The first dozen or so large cyan characters immediately entered Xiao Yan's sight. Intermediate Emperor Technique, Movement Emperor Art, 9 Revolutions Wind Roaming Art. 9 Revolutions Wind Roaming Art. The cyan characters seemed to carry the roar of a violent storm, causing a faint stinging pain in Xiao Yan's soul. However, for someone who had endured multiple bouts of soul torment, it had no effect at all. He immediately spread out his soul power, wrapping all those Xian characters and carefully studying them. 9 Revolutions Wind Roaming Art. Though an intermediate emperor technique, when cultivated to great mastery, it can rival ordinary high-grade movement emperor techniques. One must refine these wind strands into wind pearls and absorb them into the body, allowing a trace of wind force to be born within before it can be cultivated. This technique is divided into 3 stages. First stage, 3 revolutions of wind. Second stage, 6 revolutions. Third stage, 9 revolutions of wind roaming. Upon great mastery, movement follows the will, as if riding the wind. After finishing reading the introduction, Xiao Yan felt a slight surprise. A movement emperor art comparable to a high-grade emperor technique just happened to make up for his deficiency in speed. As for the strange method of refining wind strands into wind pearls and absorbing them into the body, Xiao Yan was seeing it for the first time, and his curiosity was fully piqued. He carefully reread the lengthy requirements several times. After memorizing them completely, his soul power shook, and those hundreds of Xian characters scattered like a gentle breeze. At the moment the Xian characters were about to dissipate, Xiao Yan's soul power suddenly surged. Like a storm, it wrapped around all the Xian characters. Then a surge of soul pressure erupted from the depths of his soul. With a faint cracking sound, the hundreds of Xian characters instantly turned into nothingness and slowly reformed within Xiao Yan's powerful soul. According to the instructions, Xiao Yan spent 3 full days condensing the wind pearl. After 3 days, a faint cyan bead the size of a pill was slowly rotating within the scroll. It was the first time he had used soul power for such a long period. Xiao Yan immediately felt a tearing pain in his forehead. After withdrawing his soul from the scroll, exhaustion surged in like a tide, instantly engulfing his entire body. Huff! Exhaling a somewhat murky breath, Xiao Yan's eyelids drooped weakly. He shook his head and forcibly dispelled the drowsiness in his mind. Struggling, he sat cross-legged again and quickly forced himself into a cultivation state. After about half a day, Xiao Yan, who was cultivating, suddenly twitched his eyelashes and opened his eyes. A flash of sharp light vanished in an instant, and the fatigue in his eyes had been replaced by boundless vitality. His soul once again entered the scroll in his hand. The cyan bead, nurtured for a long time, quietly hovered within the scroll space, emitting faint wind howls and occasionally bursts of roaring storm-like sounds. With a slight movement of soul power, the cyan bead dissipated into a strange fluctuation along his soul. Outside, Xiao Yan, whose eyes were tightly closed, trembled slightly. That wondrous fluctuation strangely entered his body along his soul. In just a few blinks, the meridians required for cultivating the 9 revolutions wind roaming art were covered in a layer of pale cyan energy. Feeling his body becoming noticeably lighter and more agile, Xiao Yan could not help but marvel inwardly. This thing was absolutely not comparable to ordinary intermediate emperor techniques. His teacher truly did not give ordinary items. With the birth of a trace of wind force within his body, Xiao Yan's cultivation speed of the 9 revolutions wind roaming art also increased significantly. In just 1 month, this intermediate movement emperor technique had been cultivated by him to the second stage, 6 revolutions of wind. While cultivating the 9 revolutions wind roaming art, Xiao Yan did not neglect another emperor technique. It was a leg technique called 1,000 Illusions Roaming Dragon Leg, an aggressive emperor technique with wide, sweeping attacks and extremely powerful explosive force. One kick could shatter a huge boulder. Its ferocious power left Xiao Yan quite satisfied, especially when the 9 revolutions wind roaming art was paired with the 1,000 Illusions Roaming Dragon Leg. The combination of extreme speed and overwhelming burst power created an unpredictable ambush effect. The first time he used it, Xiao Yan instantly killed a mid-level spirit beast equivalent to a second-rank emperor scholar. Cultivation knows no time. In Xiao Yan's relentless progress, raising his strength, diligently cultivating emperor techniques, and simultaneously improving his alchemy skills while enhancing his control over soul power and imperial flame. Half a year quietly passed. When Xianxia appeared before Xiao Yan again, it was already half a year later, and in his hand was a weapon extremely familiar to Xiao Yan. It was a crimson gold giant ruler, similar in size to the black ruler. In Xiao Yan's perception, this giant ruler carried a peculiar aura, seemingly fused with imperial flame. Placing the giant ruler into the ground, Xianxia's face carried an unmistakable trace of fatigue. Looking at his disciple, who had grown much stronger and more mature than half a year ago, a hint of gratification flashed through his deep eyes as he smiled lightly and said, "This old man once saw you using a black ruler. This azure flame ruler shall be my entry gift to you." Xiao Yan was startled, then deeply moved. Although his teacher was not good at expressing emotions, his care was meticulous. Xiao Yan's black ruler had undergone many battles before. Although it was forged from rare materials of the Doqi continent, it was clearly no longer suitable for the great world. Elder Yi's action now was undoubtedly timely help in a moment of need. A warm current flowed through his heart. Xiao Yan was not being pretentious either. He picked up the azure flame ruler planted on the ground. As the ruler handle entered his grasp, a faint warmth spread through his palm. After swinging it a few times, it felt surprisingly well-suited to him. Listening to the bursts of wind-bursting sounds tearing through the air, a hint of curiosity appeared in Xiao Yan's eyes. He could vaguely sense something different about this azure flame ruler. The material of this azure flame ruler is the extremely rare azure flame essence iron. The great world is boundless, yet azure flame essence iron is only produced in the spirit domain. Moreover, azure flame essence iron that can be shaped by soul power into weapons is even rarer still. Only a small number of major powers and clans in the spirit domain possess it, and they all treat it as a priceless treasure. Ordinary outsiders would never even have the chance to see it. When I was roaming the spirit domain back then, I happened to encounter a situation where the accumulated injuries inside the sacred beast of a great clan suddenly erupted. It was the original form of that little black scorpion you once killed. After I refined pills to heal it, the clan head, out of gratitude, gifted me this high-grade azure flame essence iron. You must know, the value of this level of azure flame essence iron is absolutely no less than a saint art. Hearing the words saint art, Xiao Yan's hand holding the azure flame ruler couldn't help but tremble. He looked at the ruler in his hand and twitched the corner of his mouth. This thing was actually so precious. Even for those long-established aristocratic clans, a saint art was something extremely rare. He hadn't expected the value of azure flame essence iron to belong to such near-legendary items as well. The reason azure flame essence iron is so valuable is not only because it can be shaped into weapons by soul power, but more importantly, because of its memory capability. Memory capability? Xiao Yan was stunned for a moment upon hearing this unfamiliar term. Yes, the first time soul power is used to shape azure flame essence iron, whatever is imprinted into its origin source will, in the future, be able to attach itself to it. There were strong practitioners who, during refinement, added a strand of thunder origin into it. After the weapon was successfully formed, it could not only release lightning, but also absorb thunder from heaven and earth, storing it within its origin source. It could strengthen itself and injure enemies at the same time. As for me, when refining it, I added a strand of Imperial Flame origin. That means in battle, the Imperial Flame can silently surge onto the Azure Flame ruler and deliver the strongest, unexpected strike to your enemy. After hearing these words, the heat in Xiao Yan's eyes grew even more intense as he looked at the Azure Flame ruler, as if a hungry wolf staring at a piece of succulent meat. Good stuff. He sighed inwardly. Xiao Yan's heart even began to beat violently because of Elder Yi's casually spoken words. Hidden arrows are hard to guard against, But in most close-quarters battles, there is rarely a chance to launch sneak attacks, because in intense combat the opponent will not give you time to prepare anything. Moreover, the most taboo thing in battle is distraction. Most fights are sudden and unpredictable, and at such times, it all comes down to raw strength. But the Azure Flame Ruler clearly did not belong to that category. Imagine, during a fight where both sides are fully focused, the Imperial Flame on the Azure Flame Ruler suddenly erupts. Such an unpredictable attack would leave only one outcome if one is careless: defeat. Thinking of this, Xiao Yan's hand holding the Azure Flame Ruler began to tremble slightly. This special ability of the Azure Flame Ruler would become one of his greatest killing moves in future battles. Thank you, teacher. Xiao Yan put away the Azure Flame Ruler, remained silent for a moment, and then spoke softly to Elder E. Those 4 simple words carried immense gratitude and respect. It was only a trivial effort, and besides, it would have been a waste not to make use of that Azure Flame essence iron. Elder E smiled and waved his hand. Then he added, I don't possess any ruler technique, Emperor Art, so I can't help you quickly become familiar with this Azure Flame Ruler. In the coming days, you'll have to explore on your own. A weapon refined from high-grade Azure Flame essence iron is something even in the spirit domain that is rarely seen. Just as he was about to nod in agreement, a deafening explosion suddenly came from afar. Immediately after, the entire world trembled slightly. By the time Xiao Yan regained his senses, Elder E had already risen into the air. With a sweep of his sleeve, the vast surging energy like a tide gradually dissipated. He looked toward the distance with a heavy expression. After a long while, Elder E let out a bitter laugh. His eyes gradually filled with a trace of bitterness. Teacher, what happened? With a flap of his sky phoenix wings, Xiao Yan rose into the air. He looked into the distance before turning his gaze to Elder E, who had regained calm. With a slight movement, Elder E appeared beside Xiao Yan. For the first time, a trace of gentleness appeared on his aged face as he softly said, Teacher's prediction was a bit off. How long have you been inside the illusory realm? Xiao Yan was startled upon hearing this. An ominous premonition quickly rose in his heart. After thinking for a moment, he said in a low voice, Almost 3 years now. 3 years. I originally thought it would still take 4 years. Elder E sighed softly, his voice calm and without joy or sorrow. In at most 3 months, this illusory realm that has existed for 10,000 years will dissipate. Little fellow, you should prepare to leave. Boom! The news exploded in Xiao Yan's mind like 9 heavens thunder, shaking his head until it buzzed loudly. He opened his mouth slightly, momentarily frozen in place. Reluctant to part with it, Elder E suddenly teased with a faint smile, then let out a soft sigh. No matter how real and perfect this illusory realm may seem, it is still just an illusory realm. The boundless great world outside is the true reality, where you can fully throw yourself into the fight. Saying this, Elder E narrowed his eyes slightly. Your blood runs hot, and a true strong person should not be indecisive or weighed down by emotional attachments. Xiao Yan silently nodded. Although his expression still carried a hint of gloom, he gradually calmed down. His teacher was right. His heart had always longed for that endless great world. An illusion would always remain an illusion, and what was destined to come would come sooner or later. I, your disciple, will never disappoint your guidance. When Xiao Yan raised his head again, the sadness in his eyes had been replaced by unwavering determination, and a surge of vitality emerged as he prepared to face this brand new world. Good. That soft word carried Elder Yi's confidence and expectations for Xiao Yan as well. Watching his disciple, who was gradually revealing his extraordinary potential, he had every reason to believe that Yi Tianxin's disciple would secure a place on the Powerhouse rankings of the great world in the future.